Are we talking about practice? You damn right we are. New York Jets training camp and Denzel Mims getting traded. Let's roll. Zoinks! It is unequivocally the Super Bowl for New York Jet fans.
Field Yates, baby. Field Gosh darn Yates. Let's bring him on the show.
Come on, people. Connor Rogers is joining the show. What's up, Connor? But Trevor Gosh darn Sycamore, baby, for me, personally, my favorite New York Jet of all time.
Wow, it's great to be on. What an intro that was right there.
Paul, nobody does an intro like you, man.
Paul, you give the best intro of literally any podcast that I've ever been.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas.
What is popping, baby? Yes, sir. Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show live every morning at 7:30. And are we talking about practice? Yes, we are. And by the way, as you're going through this thing, make sure you like the video on YouTube, hit subscribe down below. And people, while you're down there, make sure you check out the article. We have a quick read that goes along with every single video show to catch you up on all the things in Jetsland. And quite frankly, we are overflowing with content over the last 24 hours. So catch up on everything and everything we'll be talking about. And we got a repeat offender on the program. He'll be joining us every gosh darn Thursday. He volunteered for this level of punishment. That is Ty Butler of ESPN 98.7. Let's bring him in. What's up, Ty?
Yo, baby, what's going on? First day of practice. I saw the Allen Iverson tweet. You talked about practice. I had to come through, man. What's going on?
Of course. Yeah. So it's wild. I mean, now, so like, people can perceive it in different ways, but football is happening now for the New York Jets until, well, February, baby, when they're in the friggin' Super Bowl. But so we just have football constantly over the weekend. With the first public practice for the fans will be coming up on Saturday, the 22nd. So we've got a lot to get into. Let's immediately get into this Denzel Mims thing. Ty, I'm curious. So yesterday, early morning, shout out to Brian Costello of the New York Post. He says this guy, Denzel Mims, is getting cut or traded. And all day long, no trade chatter. So we think, he's going to get cut. And then all of a sudden, whoa, the Jets didn't put him officially through the system, which would have came at 4 o'clock with the NFL official transactions. So they hold on to him, which sparks trade rumors. Ultimately, late last night, he gets dealt to the Detroit Lions. Ty, your first reaction was what?
Well, I thought people were viewing this through a lens that I just found to be such shocking because I saw a sentiment going around on Twitter. Anything you can get for him is a win. And I'm thinking, yo, this guy was taken with the second round pick in 2020. That was 3 years ago. So Paul, this. Let's go back to 2020. And Schefter comes on ESPN and he's like, breaking news. The Jets have just traded back from the 2nd round to the 7th round. We're going to be looking like what the, because that's essentially what happened. This organization that I guess it's since the last time we were hanging out on the podcast. Like, 2015, they've struggled to score points. For 8 years, they've struggled to score points. So you go out there and you get a weapon and you invest this level of draft capital in him, and he didn't pan out. So now we're looking back at that first draft for Joe Douglas. It's odd because he got here in 2019, but his first draft wasn't until 2020.
Yeah, weird.
Draft. And it's a wash. Mekhi Becton is going to be fighting for his life, trying to get that second contract. But assuming this goes the way that we all think it will, that entire draft, you could just wipe it out. Then you go to 2021, first pick, Zach Wilson, bust. Elijah Moore was taken in the 2nd round, traded him last
Elijah Vera Tucker. Yeah, as well. The other first rounder. Yeah.
Elijah Vera Tucker's in that draft, of course, but Elijah Moore was taken in the 2nd round. They traded him.
Yeah.
So we're looking at these drafts, and we can get excited about Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner and AVT. Like, we can get excited about these guys. But, man, just look at the entire resume, and it's not looking good, which is why I think this is such an important season. We got to see how this draft plays out, right?
Sure, of course.
Season for this regime with Saleh and Douglas, because we do give them credit for what happened last year, even though ended on a 6-game losing streak.
That's true.
The whole Denzel Mims thing. It's not even about Denzel Mims. It's just a pattern of receiver taken, traded. Corey Davis signed, like the free between free agency and the draft. Not a lot to be excited about in its totality, outside of obviously hitting home runs with those 3 players I just mentioned.
Yeah, and again, I'm glad that you brought that up because I sent out a lot of tweets about the Denzel Mims thing. I will tell you one of them that I did not send out that I saw from others, like build Joe Douglas a statue. I'm like, people, I'm all for it with some of the Jamal Adams thing. That well deserved, okay, yeah, that was phenomenal. Or the LDT, which was lower scale, Daniel Brown switch, and then he got the player back, like, ha ha ha, screw you, Chiefs. Like, that was kind of funny. Like, but again, to your point, Adam Schefter going, the Jets have traded the 59th overall pick for the 6th round. You'd be like, what the hell? What a terrible trade. Because that is exactly what it is. And Ty, I am sorry to do this to you to start the show, but let me throw this up on the screen because I tweeted this out last night. All I could say is, good Lord, have mercy. All I can say is exactly what you see on the screen. Look at this, and I know it could be hard to read for some people, but this is the Jets' second-round pick history from 2008 to 2021. I understand this isn't all Joe Douglas's fault, but I just felt with Denzel Mims now getting traded, you have Elijah Moore traded, Denzel Mims traded, Marcus May was pretty solid, Christian Hackenberg never played a snap, Devin Smith got cut, Jason Morrow got cut. Geno Smith, of course, we know what turned out to him. Stephen Hill, another wide receiver, he got cut. And then Vlad Dukas, who actually had a nice career as a backup offensive lineman for like 8 years. But look at that. I mean, that's disgusting. No wonder the Jets have been terrible since the last time that we spoke. I mean, that's gross, Ty. That's gross.
You say we know what happened to Geno Smith. You mean he went to another team and led them to the playoffs? Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's so funny. We were all excited last week. Obviously, it happened after the show. Quinnen Williams got the
right. Yes.
This was the first Jet to get an extension. The Jets went like 6 years. I want to say it was like 2012 to 2018 drafting guys who never got the second
Correct.
time. So we were excited about that. But to your point, like we wonder, how do you go 12 straight years without making the playoffs? Well, this is how you go 12 straight years.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
This isn't the NBA where it's a lottery. Wherever you finish, that's where you're drafting. Jets have been bad. Haven't drafted well, can't hit on the quarterback. And now to bring it back full circle where Joe Douglas does deserve credit is what he inherited with this roster. He had to build it back up, and he did so to a point where Aaron Rodgers, a future Hall of Famer, a 4-time league MVP, looks at his program and says, this is such a favorable destination. This is where I want to go to finish out my career. So Joe Douglas, despite the spotty draft history, not so great on free agents, has a chance to still do something special because of, Rodgers and what he's brought to this program.
Of course. And for people that are saying I've missed out on Breece Hall and other guys, no. I picked a certain amount of time, 2008 to 2021. So obviously I left out Breece. I left out Joe Tippmann. And I didn't want to cherry pick. To Ty's point, he brought up Geno Smith or Marcus May, who are fine player. Or Geno, obviously more than fine, but like Marcus May, a fine player, got a contract. I didn't want to cherry pick and say, here's all the terrible picks the Jets made, and don't look over here at the legitimate picks that they made during that time. I wanted to give a solid sample size for some of the people that potentially are complaining about that. But let's get to our poll of the day, and then we'll talk about some practice. Yes, we'll get that in there. And the poll of the day is this time. I'm fascinated your take. The fans are split. We have over 500 votes right now. The question is this. The Jets traded wide receiver Denzel Mims to the Lions. Do you believe he will turn his NFL career around? Because he hasn't caught a touchdown pass yet. So, I mean, he's obviously uber talented, but what do you think? Yes, he's talented, or nope, he's a bust. And basically, we're 50-50. I mean, there's a lean 52.7%, another 15 hours to vote. This poll is also in our link down below. What do you make of this? Do you think he could be a success, or is he a lost cause?
Well, here's the funny thing.
Okay.
He was drafted in 2020, 620 yards overall, no touchdowns. And
Zero.
How the hell does a team devoid of offensive firepower and weapons find stuff in this situation once again? But the 50% of people who are predicting he goes on to have a nice career, you know what that's rooted in? Because it can't be. The genesis can't be, well, we've seen enough from him that we know, like there are flashes. right? Like that can't be what it is. It has to
Yeah.
be, well, of course, because this is what happens to the Jets. You draft a guy, he doesn't pan out. You go to
Mhm.
another team, he goes on to have maybe not a successful career, but he certainly is much better than he was in the Jet uniform. So if I had to guess, just because the Jet fan in me is so conditioned to view it this way, I would say he goes on, to Detroit, where they're expected to win that division.
Mhm.
They got a really good head coach in Dan Campbell, who was able to go there last year and build them back up to something along the lines of being representable. So I think he'll have a nice career, but it's only again rooted in the fact that I'm a Jet fan and I've seen this happen one too many times.
Yeah, that's again, we just mentioned Geno Smith on that grand list. He won the NFL's Comeback Player of the Year and brought to the Seattle Seahawks to the postseason. So, yeah, we are in that. And yes, insert all the jokes. Zach Wilson had more touchdown passes. That Connor McDermott offensive lineman that was in on that one trick play also apparently had more touchdown receptions. We'll see. Obviously, for the Lions, their first round receiver from 2 years ago, well, he's suspended for the first 6 games. That's a whole gambling, and we could do a whole another show about that.
Oh,
So Denzel Mims should some opportunities. Go ahead.
can I just say that real quick?
Yeah.
How stupid do you have to be to
Oh
get
boy.
suspended for things like this is running rampant now, and the
Yeah.
NFL can't allow players to be gambling, especially on on the in the territory of
Yeah, right. In the NFL, right. Yeah. The lack of integrity. Right.
regardless of whether or not it is on other sports. You can't be at the facility gambling. But what's going on with these guys? I mean, you're punting on millions and millions of dollars just to bet. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
I think it's lame on multiple levels because first off, there is a strong contingent. I don't know if it's our 53% that's rooting for Denzel Mims, but there's a strong contingent that said apparently the NFL didn't do a good enough job. If I was in the NFL, I would read the rules. Okay, what am I not allowed to do and not allowed to do? Because I would assume gambling is questionable territory. So I'd want to make sure I read the rules to make sure I'm fully aware of them. For some of these players to throw their hands up, I didn't know. Well, first off, if you didn't know, you're an idiot. And if you did know and ignored it, then you're also an idiot because you should have read the rules. So, like, oh man, I can't believe we've seen the glut. I don't know how many it is in total, but over the last 2-3 years, Calvin Ridley, Jameson Williams, and all these other guys, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 too many. It shouldn't happen. It's dumb. So I just I lose brain cells. Ty, honestly, I just lose brain cells about it. To be blunt. All right, let's get into it. So first off, I guess we'll recap yesterday before we get into Jets practice. What stood out to you? Did you like the Michael Clemens walk-in? That was impressive. It was a lot of pomp and circumstance. So no practice yesterday, but everyone reported some photos. Aaron Rodgers, the Jets throwback uniform leak. I mean, there's a lot to dabble from. What stood out to you?
Well, outside of the Denzel Mims situation, it is funny to
Yeah.
see Michael Clemens. The team is embracing that those HBO cameras for Hard Knocks are rolling.
Oh, yes.
So you gotta love that. Don't succumb to the pressure. We talked about this last week. Go out there, ball out. A couple cameras shouldn't be what detracts you from your ultimate goal. CJ Mosley and the veterans talking about what it is going to be like picking the brains of a Hall of Fame quarterback, playing that chess match, because now on defense, you've got to go up against him in practice. Don't get hurt, CJ. Please stay on the field, my brother. So that's going on. And then also, for us Jet fans, Paul, I mean, it doesn't take much to get us excited. We saw Aaron Rodgers in the Green Unis yesterday, and we were crazy. It's all over social media. So I think to me that was what stood out, because that's what solidified how real it is. It reified like this is an actual thing. One of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of the sport is wearing this uniform, and because of that, every single week, I know the schedule's tough, but because of that, every single week, you feel like you got a legitimate chance to win every game because of him.
Yeah, and I just have to say, I think it's weird. I don't know what other word to describe. When I saw that picture, and then the Jets had a funny caption, "This is not an AI generated photo." I was just looking at it, going, like, "Is this real?" Like today, we do the show live every day. Today, July 20th, the first practice. He apparently is going to be out there throwing the football with other players in the Jets uniform, and I don't think my brain just might explode when I'm just watching a highlight clip of him dropping an 80-yard bomb to Garrett Wilson. I'm just going to be like, "Whoa." Like, I don't think my brain can understand. So again, just weird. I'm like looking at him. He's in the Jets uniform. This is real. It's not graphic God going crazy. Like, he's actually there. So I don't know if my brain synapses are going to properly wrap it around today at practice.
And yeah, once he starts talking to the media, I think that with this Hard Knocks situation, he's going to
Hmm.
embrace. I actually think, because we were also concerned, I feel like he likes it. He's going to enjoy it because he gets to, in some ways, dictate the narrative. He's used to the cameras being on him. But in this brand new situation where he can taste success could be on the horizon, they're at the doorstep of doing something really, not at the doorstep, the season hasn't started,
Right.
but, in theory, you could do something really special. It can be the highlight of the entirety of your career, your life. So I think he's going to embrace the cameras being on him. And we just got to get used to it. 5 national television games could be flexed
Hmm.
a number of times. It's gonna be fun, man. I'm looking forward to it. Practice, listening to what everyone has to say, and Coach Sala. I want to hear from him too because this is a big season for him. He's never
Hmm.
had this level of pressure. He's never been in this type of situation. I don't know if you saw this last week, Paul. CBS
Yeah.
came head coach rankings. Sala
Hmm.
comes 26
Ooh.
behind 2 rookie head coaches, D'Amico Ryans in Houston,
Oh,
and then Shane Steichen with Indy, behind 2
brutal.
rookie coaches. I understand the 11-23 record. I understand
Hmm.
that in year 1 they had the league's worst defense, and he's supposed to be a defensive guru. Bumped that up to number 4 last week. But there's a lot of storylines going on out there. I'm just happy the Quinn and Williams saga is over. But with between Salah and Rodgers and defense and Garrett, there's so much juice here, man. I'm looking forward to it.
So Ty, obviously you have magical powers. You spoke it into existence last week that Quinnen would get the extension. He gets the extension. So I ask you one of 2 questions. First off, can you give me the lotto numbers for later this week? I'd really appreciate it. Or number 2, something else that you're going to speak into existence. Dalvin Cook, Quan Alexander, something else. Pull out the crystal ball, Ty. Obviously, you are a demigod walking on this planet.
It's something we got to do in unison because
Hmm.
we were, I guess, therapeutic about it last week. We're like,
Ah,
boy,
yes.
this is
Hmm.
Darrell Reeves 2.0 hard knocks. It's all coming full
Hmm.
circle.
Yeah.
Dalvin Cook.
That's,
So and I talked about this on my radio show last night. The only thing that really concerns me and why it
mhm.
was smart for Zeke and Cook and all of these guys to not cave off of what their demands were.
Mhm.
Training camp opens. We know with football, inevitably there are going to be some injuries, and that could really run rampant for teams expecting however much from their running back. So these guys have to wait for the right situation. Desperate team comes in and overpays for him. The Jets are in a situation with Cook where you don't necessarily you'd like to have him. You don't
Mhm.
need him per se because you've got a
Okay.
jam-packed running back room. The hope is he comes in and he alleviates some of that pressure and workload off of Brees Hall, who you don't want to rush back. So I'm just wary of an NFL team out there maybe experiencing a significant injury that needs him, acquiesces to his demands, and now he doesn't have to look at the Jets as a spot of necessity because they're not going to pay him what that other team is looking for. But with all that being said, welcome to the Jets, Dalvin Cook. It's going to happen,
Yes,
baby.
sir. All right, I love it. And yeah, if we start peeking around at the teams apparently interested, Albert Breer said keep an eye on the AFC East, and the Patriots are kicking the tires on Darrell Henderson, Leonard Fournette, potentially going in a different direction. Obviously, the Dolphins drafted Devin A-Chain, so that came after their rumored interest in things. So maybe ultimately the Jets end up being there. So Albert Breer said absolutely. Watch the Jets. A couple of quickies before we get everybody out of here. First off, I got to throw this up. I see everyone talking about it in the comments. Come on. The throwback unis. This appears to be the uniform that we're going to get. So it's old school. It's Jets. This is just a version of Joe Clucko, but obviously photos leaked out online, quick peeks. Rest in peace. Let's pour one out to that intern who's getting fired for this, but he threw it out. It's actually a video, but here are a couple of still shots from Jets by Jack. So it looks like we will be getting it. NFL teams have been announcing their throwback uniforms throughout the offseason, so it sounds like we're going to be getting it for the Jets in due time. They're probably spreading it out to really just take over the news landscape with all of these throwbacks. Seattle did it yesterday, and that looked freaking phenomenal. So shout out to them. All right, real quick, what are you looking forward to at practice today? Just Aaron Rodgers throwing tutties? That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I want to see Aaron Rodgers flinging the ball around because for the first time in a long time, even 2015, when Ryan Fitzpatrick had a career year for the Jets, that wasn't expected. You didn't come into that season feeling like, all right, our offense could be really special. Hasn't happened in quite some time. So the fact that you've got a legitimate genius at that position, looking forward to that. And I got to say this, just no injuries, man. I keep coming back to
Oh,
that.
thank God. Yes.
I get, I get drunk and in love with the expectations. Calf, remember in OTAs? Oh, Aaron Rodgers
Oh,
needs
boy.
calf. Oh boy, Alan Lazard down, holding his ankle. Yikes! Let's just avoid that. I'm looking forward to a clean injury report. I don't want to see Samini and Costello and Connor Hughes tweeting out, pictures or something. Something went wrong in practice. Let's just go through the motions and let's be good, and we'll be all right, Paul. That's it.
Yeah, that's it for me too. And also wording. Like I think there was a couple that said clutching leg, can barely move. I'm like, oh my God, he's dead. Or like some of the words, and then someone else goes, no, he's fine. He got up, brushed it off, and walked off. And I'm like, what the hell? Because we're not there, so they are our lens as we're reading tweets. So we'll overreact to that. Shout out, as Johnny says here, Agent Zero, Adrian Amos going with number 0. Very nice. Somebody had to do it, so I appreciate that as well. And the final nugget is 54 Jet fans have entered our schedule prediction contest. Ty Butler's in it. I'm in it. You should be in it. And you can win a free Jets jersey of your choice. All the details down below in the In Case You Missed It subsection. Please join. We appreciate it. And Ty, I love doing this every Thursday. It's great to catch up after all these years, especially on a consistent basis. This is groovy, baby. And it goes by like this. It goes by so quick. I can't even believe it's already been 20 minutes, man.
We got to get out there to a game. Nice little tailgate.
Come on, and Ty Butler, ESPN 98.7. When I look at the billboards, I see Ty on there, so you could get me a hookup. You could get me sideline passes. Hang out with the Jets cheerleaders. Like you could give me the whole show, baby. So I'm looking forward to that, and using our friendship to flex that into tangible gifts. Obviously, what is a friendship if you don't do that? Quite frankly, come on.
And what's a friendship if you don't in February? So what's that? 7 months from now, right? February.
That's right. Yeah.
7:30. Rain is still cooking up. What's a friendship if in 7 months from now we're not in Vegas for the Super Bowl, hanging out, previewing, post game, the whole 9. So let's talk that. Let's talk that talk, baby.
There we go. My people, your people. We'll make it happen. Ty, thank you, brother, and we'll see you next Thursday, pal. Enjoy Jets practice.
Holla at me, man.
There he is, Ty D. Butler. Make sure you guys follow him on Twitter. Thanks, everybody.